I don't want to be too controversial. I mean, this is the ho, ho, ho Christmas special. But did Phil Salt save Matthew Mott's job in the T20 series? I mean, they were 2-0 down. They lost the one-day series. They're 2-0 down in the T20s. And Phil Salt scores back-to-back hundreds. And if he did save his job, is that a good thing? Because there was certainly increasing speculation that he wasn't the right man to be in charge of England's white ball cricket.
I wonder where this speculation is coming from. I feel a bit sorry for Matthew Mott. I think that he is victim to a certain degree the World Cup format. The reason I say that is because you know how the media works, Manners. England were knocked out of that World Cup with 4 or 5 matches to go and a good 2 or 3 weeks of the tournaments still to play out. And such is the way of the modern world, where a story needs to be written every day. And we live in an era or a time when there has to be a fall guy. And I suppose Matthew Mott was kind of the easiest one to get at. And he was got at. And I think some of the reporting, I'm not sure how much of that was based on real angst within the setup of the squad. I think a little bit may have been essentially picking on a guy because it was an easier story.
He's an easy target.
So I don't think Matthew Mott would have lost his job even if England had lost the T20 series 5-0. Of course, we don't know that because it would have been how they lost the series 5-0. You know, there's been several problems, several criticisms aimed at the structure, from wrong calls at the toss, muddled team selection, loss of form, loss of confidence, mixed messages. So if all of those things combined and England lose 5-0, maybe. But I think in a weird way, by asking the question, did Phil Salt save Matthew Mott's job? I understand the question, but it was Matthew Mott that selected him to play. And he selected him to play because he's a good cricketer. And he just did his job, didn't he, Phil Salt? And that kind of is what Matthew Mott's job is as well. And just to finish up, if not Matthew Mott, then who?
Yeah, that's the thing, the who. The who is the glaring obviously one, because everybody speaks highly about him and he's in there, but he's never coached a team yet until we see him in the 100, and that would be Andrew Flintoff.
I'd say it's a massive call.
Massive call at this moment in time. But I think if England had lost the series 4-1, we were on the verge of, they were 2-0 down, staring down a barrel. I don't think it was just Matthew Mott. I think you would have to look at Jos Buttler as well, his position from a captaincy point of view. Because you're talking about tactically, we were in, I think, difficult situations. I thought team selection, muddled thinking, toss, they were all combinations of a Mott and a Buttler combination for them decisions that come to be made. I think he's an easy target, Matthew Mott, and he will be an easy target for every single day he has the England job, because nobody's going to have a go at Brendan McCullum. Nobody's going to have a go at Ben Stokes. They're not going to have a go at Rob Key. They're not going to have a go at Jos Buttler. These are icons of our game and the game of cricket. So, and what Key's done, Rob Key's done, and changed completely changed the transformation of English cricket for the better, in my opinion, from a positive point of view. Even though if we lose 5-0, I'm not backing him because he's my mate. I'm just backing him because of the way his outlook of changing cricket has been over the course of the time he's been in the job. That, for me, is far many more positives than negatives. But Matthew Mott he's always going to be an easy target. He is always going to be an easy target. He wins the World Cup. Nobody really said anything. It's Jos Buttler, Ben Stokes. Look at Ben Stokes, got us through it. Goes to the World Cup. All of a sudden, you're hearing rumours out of dressing rooms from Owen Morgan. Owen Morgan saying there's something not quite right. He's the man that set the template for this dressing room, and he's on commentary saying it's not quite right. So something in there wasn't quite right. Now, in the Caribbean, there was murmurs again after 2 games, but there's always going to be when you are losing. So he's just for me, he's just an easy target. Will we see at the end of 2024 Andrew Flintoff be England's white ball coach? There could be a possibility, depending on how he goes in the 100. But I think at this moment in time, I think Matthew Mott is a victim of, we can't have a go at everybody else, so we'll have a go at Matthew Mott. And that, unfortunately, is where I think this England group is at this moment in time. They are, I think, on the cusp of doing something special in T20 World Cup, because I think they've got the right components to go to the Caribbean and the USA to potentially win that tournament. In these last 2 games, I think they've unearthed somebody who was a question mark. Massive question mark. Who was going to go at the top with Butler, possibly Bairstow? Was it going to be Salt? Was it going to be Jacks? Well, he's put his hand up. So we've got another one inked in for that team. We've got a spin bowler, 19-year-old, who is another option when it comes to, because he can play with Rashid, he can play with Moeen Ali, and that's Rian Ahmed. Another one who, for me, is inked into that squad going forward. So there's been a lot of positives out of this series. So when we get to the end of it, and we look back on it, and we think the only reason why we're criticising Matthew Mott is because everybody else in the management setup, the ECB, is a little bit untouchable. And I think that's why he gets so much criticism.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.